Did you just threaten a congresswoman? On live TV? The studio went dead silent. Andrew Tate, visibly unfazed, leaned into the mic with the poise of a man who's been here before. Jasmine Crockett, seated across from him, didn't flinch either. Her eyes narrowed, a woman who's mastered courtroom calm, but her voice sliced through the tension like steel. "That sounded like a threat, Mr. Tate," she said, "and I don't take kindly to threats." The host fumbled to cut to commercial, but the damage had already been done. It was supposed to be a high-stakes policy debate on free speech, masculinity, and political responsibility. What it became was a firestorm. Within minutes, the clip was everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, millions of views, tens of thousands of comments. But this wasn't just about viral fame. Something deeper was unraveling. Who set this up? Why was a polarizing internet figure like Andrew Tate invited to a televised public policy panel with a sitting U.S. Congresswoman? And what happened in the days that followed, in private DMs, backroom calls, and even encrypted messages, would send shockwaves through Washington and beyond. So let's back up. Let's go to the very beginning of how this unexpected collision between a British-American ex-kickboxer turned internet mogul and a sharp-witted Texas lawmaker with a growing national profile spiraled into scandal, surveillance, and accusations neither side would walk away from unscathed. But first, let me ask you this. Why did Andrew Tate suddenly agree to appear on a show hosted by a CNN spin-off after publicly trashing mainstream media for years? Why did Jasmine Crockett, known for demolishing political opponents with facts and fire, accept a guest she once called a dangerous symbol of online toxicity? And most importantly, what weren't we shown on screen? Before we answer those questions, hit that like button and comment your first reaction to the viral confrontation. Did he cross a line? Or was this all staged? Now, let's rewind. It all started with a private invitation. Not public, not broadcast, and not even approved by Crockett's office. An executive producer from a progressive-leaning media outlet sent a direct inquiry to Andrew Tate's legal team. The subject line? Uncensored. Tate's reply came just hours later. Name the time, I'll bring truth. You bring your best. But sources close to Jasmine say she wasn't told who the celebrity guest would be until 48 hours before the show. Her team tried to back out. The network begged her not to. Why? Because the clip was already pre-sold to distributors. The platform needed the numbers. And as one anonymous staffer later leaked, "We didn't need a debate, we needed a bombshell." And a bombshell is exactly what they got. What happened during the commercial break, and what microphones may have accidentally picked up, could change the careers of both Crockett and Tate. But that's just scratching the surface, because later that night, an anonymous Reddit user uploaded a video from backstage, a video that was never meant to be seen. The video was shaky, grainy, clearly shot on a phone, likely hidden. But what it showed was crystal clear. Andrew Tate, pacing backstage with a half-empty water bottle, shirt slightly untucked, voice low but intense. She doesn't get it. This isn't about politics. This is about who controls the narrative. And then, Jasmine Crockett walks in. She's off mic, but her voice is unmistakable. Calm, collected, but razor sharp. You walked into this studio thinking you'd hijack the narrative. You're not in Romania now, Mr. Tate. You're on my turf. Tate pauses, smirks. You'd be surprised where I've been, Congresswoman. And who listens to me when the cameras are off? The video cuts off there. Just a few seconds of footage, but enough to ignite a digital wildfire. Reddit exploded. Twitter threads dissected every frame. TikToks reenacted the moment with dramatic flair. #Crockett vs. Tate trended at #1 in the U.S. for over 9 hours. Was it just a tense post-show exchange between two high-profile figures? Or something deeper? Something darker? Because just hours after the leak, Jasmine Crockett's team issued a cryptic statement. The Congresswoman stands by her words. She does not engage in intimidation, nor does she yield to it. Intimidation. That word changed everything. Suddenly, news outlets started digging, and what they found only raised more questions. According to internal emails leaked from the network, producers were warned 3 days before the taping that Andrew Tate's security detail would be highly visible and strategically stationed. Why would a guest on a televised panel need a full detail? Meanwhile, Jasmine's chief of staff revealed in an off-the-record interview that she received an anonymous digital threat the morning of the broadcast. No details, no demands, just a message. Don't be too bold tonight. Now the situation wasn't just political, it was personal, potentially criminal. The FBI reportedly reached out to both parties, quietly, just to gather context. And behind the scenes, both camps were starting to crack. Andrew Tate's spokesperson called the leak a smear campaign and hinted at a defamation lawsuit. Crockett's team requested a formal investigation into how the footage got out, and whether the network itself was complicit in manipulating the segment for ratings. But then came the third twist. A series of screenshots from a private Telegram channel, allegedly run by one of Tate's close associates, appeared online. One of the messages read, "We got under her skin. That's what matters. You push, you watch them break. She'll slip eventually." That single sentence launched a storm of speculation. Was this confrontation engineered to provoke a public reaction? Had Crockett been baited? Or was she playing her own long game, exposing Tate's tactics in real time? The line between truth and performance was growing thin, and both sides were using it. Commentators took sides. Conservative outlets called Tate the only one brave enough to challenge the machine. Liberal voices warned that Crockett had been targeted by digital manipulation. But here's the real question. Who leaked the video? And why? Because someone wanted us to see it. And what they wanted us to see might not be the whole story. It was late at night when the phone call came through. Encrypted messages weren't unusual in the world of Andrew Tate. For years, he'd built an empire by moving in the shadows of the internet, using secure channels to protect his operations. But this call wasn't about business. It was about war. Tate answered the phone without hesitation. The voice on the other end was familiar, yet unsettling. "You're playing a dangerous game, Andrew. Crockett's not just a congresswoman. She's more than you think." The voice was muffled, but there was no mistaking the sharpness of the tone. The words weren't just a warning, they were a threat. Or at least, it sounded like one. But Tate, ever unshaken, simply replied, "Tell me something I don't know." There was a pause on the other end, a beat of silence that felt too long. Then, a laugh. "It's not Crockett you need to worry about. It's the people backing her." And just like that, the call ended. No goodbyes, no formalities, just the line going dead. It wasn't just a cryptic warning, it was a promise of things to come. But the next move wasn't Tate's, it was Crockett's. Hours later, she was on a private jet, flying from D.C. to a fundraising event in New York. The flight was supposed to be routine, an uneventful trip. But as the jet ascended into the sky, something strange happened. One of the flight attendants, an unassuming woman named Sarah, came forward with an urgent message. "Congresswoman, we need to make a detour," Sarah said, looking both flustered and worried. It's about the flight path." The pilot had issued an emergency reroute. The plane was being diverted to an undisclosed location, citing a security threat on the ground. But Crockett didn't buy it. She was in the air for nearly 2 hours before the plane finally landed in a private airstrip near an industrial complex in New Jersey. No one had given an explanation. And when the plane touched down, there was a black SUV waiting for her on the tarmac. It wasn't a local security detail. The agents weren't wearing the usual badges or official uniforms. They were different, too composed, too serious. The SUV driver handed Crockett a sealed envelope. Inside, there was a single sheet of paper with one line of text. "This is your final warning." No signature, no sender. By now, the rumors were already swirling, both in Washington and beyond. But the most dangerous part? The web of power players circling the situation. Someone was pulling strings, and no one knew who. It wasn't long before Crockett's team started receiving a flurry of anonymous threats. Digital, verbal, physical. It was the stuff of nightmares. But it was real, and it was escalating. Meanwhile, Tate's social media presence exploded once more. Tweets and posts about the threats against him, his uncompromising stance on free speech, and, most dangerously, his claim that he was being silenced by the elites, flooded his platforms. But all of this was calculated. Every post, every tweet, everything was part of a larger plan. It was becoming clear. This wasn't just about Crockett anymore. This was a full-scale war between the mainstream political machine and the underground forces who saw themselves as the true arbiters of power. Who were the mysterious forces behind this, and why did they want to silence both Andrew Tate and Jasmine Crockett? The question was no longer, what's next? It was, who's next? And with every passing hour, the answers grew murkier. The countdown had begun. The night after the private jet incident, Andrew Tate's team received an encrypted message. A simple note, but one that carried the weight of 1,000 threats. It read, "It's time. Make your move. And remember, you have only one shot at this." Tate didn't need to be told twice. He immediately started planning. The chaos of the past week, the headlines, the back and forth with Jasmine Crockett, it was all leading to this moment. But what Andrew didn't know, and what Jasmine had just learned, was that the real game was only about to begin. Hours before the final televised debate, an unexpected leak surfaced on a dark web forum. The anonymous poster, using the handle Red Phoenix, claimed that Jasmine Crockett had been manipulated by her own party and was playing a role far beyond her control. The revelation shocked everyone, but not as much as what came next. A detailed accusation that Crockett had been working with Tate's enemies from within the system in an attempt to discredit him. Was she working with Tate's political opponents? Was this all just a setup to destroy both of them? The chaos wasn't just in the media now. It was inside their own ranks. Jasmine's supporters immediately turned on her, questioning her loyalties. Tate's followers, meanwhile, began accusing him of betraying his own principles, being used by shadowy political forces. Crockett's phone rang just before she was set to go on air. It was her mentor, a well-known figure in Washington, someone who had always kept the political machine in check, and the words he spoke sent a chill down her spine. "Jasmine, listen closely. You're being played. By both sides. Tate's not your real enemy. Your real enemy is the one who's been sitting next to you this whole time." Confused and stunned, Crockett looked at the screen, where Andrew Tate was preparing for his final public appearance. But was he truly the villain, or was there someone pulling the strings behind both of them? As the cameras rolled, the tension was palpable. The host introduced both of them, but before either could speak, the screen cut to a live feed showing a gathering of influential figures, political operatives, corporate elites, and shadowy influencers who were connected to both Tate's empire and Crockett's campaign. And then, the bombshell. A final message from Red Phoenix flashed across the screen. It was a video, a recording of an earlier meeting. The camera focused on a suited man, his identity obscured. He spoke in calm, calculated tones. "Both Crockett and Tate are pawns, but they don't need to know that just yet. Let them burn each other. And when they do, we'll have them both." The implications were clear. The confrontation between Tate and Crockett was never about free speech or politics. It was about something far more sinister. power, control, and manipulation at the highest levels. In the studio, the realization hit like a thunderclap. The fight was rigged. Both of them had been manipulated. Tate's face remained calm, his lips twitching into a knowing smile. Crockett, on the other hand, was visibly shaken. The betrayal was too much. She was no longer just a congresswoman. She was a pawn in a game that none of them had ever asked to play. In the final moments of the broadcast, the host turned to the camera, his voice shaking with the magnitude of what had just been revealed. "Folks, we may never know who truly orchestrated this scandal, but one thing's for sure, the real battle is only beginning." And just like that, the screen went black. The fallout was immediate and massive. The FBI launched a full-scale investigation into the leaks, the manipulation, and the mysterious group behind Red Phoenix. The media frenzy continued for days, but as the dust settled, the world was left with one haunting question. Who truly controlled the narrative? And how far would they go to keep it in their hands? The answer, it seemed, was still out there, in the shadows, waiting for its next move. This concludes the Andrew Tate and Jasmine Crockett scandal. Now it's your turn. Who do you think was behind this entire scheme? Was it just the media manipulating the narrative? Or was there a darker, more powerful hand pulling the strings? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this series, make sure you're subscribed for more explosive stories.